for the coaches, but specifically to support the athletes, right? So my whole mission is about supporting the athletes and giving the athletes the best resources. And if that means developing coaches, then that's exactly what it means. Okay, so today's conversation is about troubleshooting jumper flaws. And what this means is when you're an athlete, and take that back, let me start with the very basics, right? Let's say I'm learning how to cook, right? I'm always using cooking analogies. Learning how to cook, and I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And let's say my mom is teaching me how to cook. And she says, okay, first thing you want to do is organize or conceptualize what you want to eat. And then you want to prep your foods. Then you want to prepare your station for workflow, right? Then you want to make sure everything's cooked a certain way, like all these details, right? And let's say I'm cooking an egg and I cook the egg and I have the fire too high and I drop the egg in there and it just starts to like burn immediately, right? Or I don't have any, where I'm going with this. So my mom's going to then say, the reason why you're burning your egg is because you have the fire too high. So turn the fire down so that when you put the egg into the oil or however you cook it, it's going to work itself up to cooking and cook at a certain pace. When it cooks at this certain pace, it then is going to have a certain flavor and certain texture. And also from there, if you cook it at a certain pace, you're able to stop the cooking at a certain time. So the egg yolk is cooked at a different temperature, right? All this information I just gave now with the eggs, I just made up like right now. But that's exactly what the cook, like myself, if I'm learning from my mom, learning exactly what to do. I need to know exactly how to fix the flaws that I have. Now, the coaching cues that I hear all the time, the coaching cues are exactly what is hurting the athlete. Okay. So put your mind into the athlete perspective. You have, let's say, the long jump, and you have an athlete jumping and they're prematurely landing and they're losing distance. The athlete's going to look at the coach and say, Coach, how do I get better? What do I do? And the coach always says, and this is a very general term, but the coach is always going to highlight your flaws. You didn't hold your landing, is what the coach will say. And the athlete's saying, yeah, you're right. I didn't because I don't know how. And I tried my hardest, right? And then the coach says, make sure you stay in position, hold that landing, finish your jump. The athlete walks back, has this thing of hold my landing. The athlete runs, jumps, same exact jump because the athlete's doing the exact same thing. Athlete says, Coach, what do I do? Now, I'm assuming that there's a coach that's watching each jump. Most coaches aren't able to watch each jump. Okay. But anyway, coach says, man, like you still got to hold it. You're not holding it. Athlete's like, I know, because what I'm doing is exactly what you're telling me. You're telling me to hold it. And the reality is, as I do it, your recipe is creating the outcome that I have. So, what does that mean? The athlete now gets frustrated and loses trust in your program because of the coach's verbiage. So, now from the coach's perspective, what are we ultimately trying to say? The athlete is out of position and they're dropping their legs too soon. We need them to hold that position. But we just realized if we told them to hold the position and they're still out of position for their landing, what does that mean? It means that I, the coach, am not explaining exactly what I want the way that I want it. What I'm saying to the athlete is hold your legs in position. The outcome is the result that's happening. So if the result happens multiple times, that means that the athlete is doing exactly what I'm asking of him or her. The result is my result because I'm saying do these things. Coaches, don't take this personal. Their lack of success is your result. Their success is your result. So the biggest thing is going to be stop repeating yourself. So many coaches get so frustrated. I tell them over and over again, stop doing this. Don't do that. You're right. You do tell them over and over again. Have you told them anything different? Have you suggested another way to say the exact same thing that you've been saying to see if the results change? Okay. The athlete is the execution piece. The coach is the recipe. Coaches, you're giving the athletes a recipe. Follow these 10 steps. If you do these 10 steps, you're going to receive a certain result. The athlete does those 10 steps. Not all the time the athletes are going to do all 10 steps perfectly, right? But let's say the athlete does all 10 steps perfectly and they don't jump the distance you need them to jump. It's not their fault. It's your fault, the coach, because you gave them exactly what to do. The question is your recipe flawless? Is it exactly what is needed to improve? Okay. If it worked for one athlete, it does not mean it worked for another athlete. It means it worked for that athlete. Does this recipe work for the next one? So many times coaches have one philosophy and say, this is how you jump, and then expect the athletes to jump that way. I'll get into another video when it comes to double arm for triple jump. Another concept, right? But in this concept, it's about troubleshooting. How do we adjust the athlete? You must give the athlete a different recipe for success. If the athlete is landing maturely, well, then go one step back. What happens before the landing? It's the flight patterns. Is the athlete move correct motions to put them in a place where they can hold their positions? If they're doing the hang means most likely their legs are back behind them and you're expecting them to hold their positions in front of them for landing. Well, ask yourself, coach, are they able to pull their legs all the way from the back to the front and hold that position? Well, the results are showing that they can't. So is the hang the best position for them? Right? Now, the other question is, what if we enter into the hang differently? Will that change the outcome? So what I'm getting at is for troubleshooting for the long jump specifically is going to be to work backwards. I hear this all the time. Coaches will see the long jump and the athlete jumps, let's just say not too good. An athlete, the coach says, I need you to hold the landing. But I'm watching this, it's a third person, right? And I'm like, their approach was horrible. They're on their toes when they jump. They're not fast enough. And I'm saying these four things could be a piece of their lack of success, the reason why they're not in position. So the biggest thing is always work backwards and you keep going backwards until you see the initial flaw. If the landing isn't good, flight pattern, assess that. Are they in the correct positions for a successful landing? Next part, jump entry, right? Or the takeoff. Are they taking off from the board in the correct positions that allows them to maintain their speeds through their jump? Are they in the correct angles? Prior to that, jump entry. Are they reaching for the board? Are they losing speed? Are they taking off in a good position? Are they loose and relaxed? Are they hitting certain angles and trajectory, angles? Then from there, are they consistent with their running stride? Did they progress to their top end speed positions and upright positions there, in a relaxed state? Did they accelerate correctly? Are they driving out of the first so many steps? Are they relaxed? Are they explosive in their first few steps? All these elements, right? And if there's ever a no in any of those, you stop there and then you assess what happens if I fix that one part. So if it's a landing, what happens if I fix the flight? It said the flight's fixed, it looks good. And the landing's still bad, well, then I continue adjusting the flight because the flight looks good, but doesn't work for that athlete, right? Or they're not getting the flight. Okay, let me go back. Now I'm going to look at takeoff. Are they in the correct takeoff positions? If they are, great. Check the flight again. If they're in bad takeoff positions, well, why are they in bad takeoff positions? Let's look at the entry. Is the entry correct? And so on, right? So when it comes down to this conversation, coaches, explain to the athletes in your best ability, right? First thing is what the issue is. Okay. The second thing is a solution. You've got to give the athletes a solution. And the solution needs to be very detailed. Like, for example, again, back to the landing thing. Hey, you're rushing your landing. So I want you to do is hold your legs in a certain position throughout your jump. Be more patient. Wait till the very last second to do that. But before that, you must make sure you enter in, you bring your speed through the board so you have time to stay patient within your jump. At your takeoff, make sure you block and hold that for a second and then start your motions while being aggressive through each checkpoint that I just gave you. That is going to be a difference maker when it comes to your live troubleshooting. Okay. So now let's break this down, right? There's live coaching and live troubleshooting. Then there's also recorded, which is later. Okay. In the sprints, you're not going to get critiques. You're not going to get coaching during the race. You do everything prior to the race, and then you compete. Maybe you record it, and you go back to the lab and you say, here are the seconds and the moments that we didn't have the correct positions. I noticed that your blocks slipped, whatever, right? In the jumps, you have 3 to 4 to 6 jumps, depending on the competition you're at. The athletes are literally looking for your guidance. If you're not able to give them live feedback and coaching, it's going to create a disconnect between you and your athlete because the athlete is looking for support. They're looking for that. They may not say that because they're teenagers, but they're directly looking for, they're trying to do their best and they are physically doing their best. The problem is if you're not able to give them suggestions in the moment, then that first jump sucks to them. Then the second jump is going to suck more because they're not getting any change. And now the third jump is just like, oh, now what's happening from there is, what does the lack of trust look like between an athlete and coach? It's frustration. It's not listening. It's watching the board when you're saying, I got the board, just run through. And they're like, no, because I don't trust you, right? All these elements come into play and it starts to plague your program. It all ties together. So the biggest thing is educating yourself as a coach. And the issue with educating yourself as a coach is I've seen all these processes. I've seen all these programs, certifications, all that stuff. One is asking yourself, coach, what type of coach are you? Right? Do you have a degree in kinesiology? Or, like in my case, were you a certified personal trainer? Do you have any history in biomechanical movements? Do you understand how the body works? Do you understand the anatomy? Do you understand what muscles fire first? If you don't, educate yourself. Get educated in the body's movements so you can understand how to teach them and how to give them the recipe to move correctly so their body moves in the distance that they want to jump. The next part is USATF, has certifications, even colleges, junior colleges, all that stuff. Even if you do get the certifications or degrees, the next thing is to look at, are they helping you apply coaching techniques? So when I was watching back in the day, VHS tapes, old school YouTube videos to learn how to just better myself as an athlete, they always were showing a world-class coach and a world-class athlete. And the reality is, we as coaches, we don't coach world-class athletes. And if we do, it's one in our lifetime at the high school level. Most of the kids that we coach are kids that either never done a sport before, never seen the triple jump sometimes. Long jump, they've seen it, but never really done it. right? They don't have the correct shoes. They're not fast enough. There's always something going on, right? And the reality is you get to learn how to develop their physical body so that when they do jump, they're able to move in the directions and movement patterns that you're actually expecting them to do. So there's a lot of layers to this. But at the end of the day, what athletes are saying to you is, can you support me and coach me during the meet that I'm going to see actual changes during competition? That also requires you to physically be there and physically watch their jumps. If you have long triple high jump, well, then create a plan for how you're going to watch jumps and support them. I've seen so many jumps that I'm able to watch one athlete jump one time, figure out what the issue is, and then say, do these 3 things and you're going to improve. And that's my DVA process, right? Digital video analysis. But at the end of the day it's just reps, right? I have the background of, education, right? Then I also had the physical experience of doing these things. Then I've actually had just the reps of coaching it at all levels. So my advantage is I have so many experiences and so many times that I've tried it and failed and tried it and succeeded that now it's just an automatic thing. You can do the exact same thing. Okay. I'm going to end it there because that's pretty much my time, 15, 16 minutes. But I will say, though, is if you're looking for specific guidance, here's my plug, here's my pitch. Join my Jump 101 program. It's for athletes and coaches. If you're an athlete and you don't have a coach, great. Do the program. You're going to improve. If you're a coach and you have no idea what you're doing because you're brand new, or maybe you're a cross-country coach and you got thrown into sprints and jumps, great. Do this and apply it to your athletes. If you already have a program and it's great, but you're looking for specific drills to do, the program Jump 101 is going to support you, right? It can be used as a full program, just explaining certain concepts to your athletes. It can be just drills for you to do. It's for all levels and all abilities. Athletes have seen huge success. Check that page out at shopjump101.com. What I can do is put that here. Shop www.shopjump101.com. Okay, show that. There's the website below. Check that out. If you guys have any more questions, please comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or you can email me either at info@keinanbriggs.com or my new Leap Squad Academy email, which is info@Leap Squad Academy. And I'll see you guys inside.